Hello and welcome back to Just Giants with Grump and the Cranky Fan, the best damn podcast for the best damn football team. I am your host, the Football Grump, and with me as always is Mike, the Cranky Fan. What's going on?
Oh, Grump, what's going on? Happy Thursday. Uh, Still recovering from Monday night from the lack of sleep and ready to put away Cowboy Week and start focusing on the future. But another very winnable game for the Giants coming up this weekend. But before
Yeah,
we talk about that, we are recording this on Thursday night and right in the middle of the Thursday night game, and there's some kind of developing news going on that we have to discuss.
yeah. The Tua injury, obviously. I just keep talking, just keep going with it. Talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, by now you all know the story. You know how Tua clearly had concussion-like symptoms on Sunday, went off. The Dolphins' independent doctors decided that no, it wasn't a concussion. It was a previously existing back injury, sent him back out into the game. Now, on a short rest on a Thursday, he's out here again, takes a pretty big hit, and like his whole arms and hands seized up. It was very scary and very frightening. And, just another example of this league, just optics wise, doesn't appear to care about player injury or player safety. And, you know, they're doubling down and making it worse because if you watch the halftime show, not one of the talking heads alluded to the injury the prior week. They gave you the basic, our thoughts and prayers, worried about the family. It's a tough game, blah, 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 blah. But, you know, when you have on the panel, Ryan Fitzpatrick went to Harvard, Tony Gonzalez went to Cal, Richard Sherman went to Stanford. These are smart guys, very intelligent people. And they're not saying the obvious, what everybody's thinking. And they also scroll through Twitter during the game. They know the temperature of what the fans are thinking. For them not to say anything just tells me one thing, that this league muzzled them and gave them a gag order not to talk about this. And if that's the case, this is one gutless league and just shameful league where they're just doubling down on this, it doesn't matter, just play. As long as people watch and people gamble and we have ratings and advertisers, who cares about players? And I really hope that the hammer comes down on, the Dolphins. We get to the bottom of, was it just a bad job by the doctors? Were they pressured by the doctors to have Tua play? I don't know, but it stinks to high heaven. A league that fines players for not having their socks hiked up all the way to their knee, but this type of nonsense happens. It's just disgusting. So I hope this is something that, is investigated fully and gets the attention it deserves because, as much as I love football and Grump loves football and all you guys do, we don't want to see people getting hurt and hurt badly and seriously hurt. And this disregard for players is ridiculous in 2022.
So this is kind of like this is really weird, right? So this whole situation and what happened last week looked a lot like what happened to Daniel Jones in the Dallas game last year. He had a head-to-head collision with safety, I forget his name, and he got up and he was all wobbly, went right back down, was foaming at the mouth, and there was like a lot of hubbub about that. There was a lot of, he was taken out of the game, did not return, and he played the next week, and you and I had the conversation in there about why is he playing, and you criticized the coaches, and I actually defended them because this is one of the things I always thought that the NFL did right. And I think that the protocol and enforcing non-team and non-NFL doctors to make the determination on when a player does and doesn't have a concussion is a pretty good thing because it takes the coach entirely out of it and it takes the player entirely out of it. The player's wishes do not matter. They have to go through this protocol. So I always thought that this was really good. And to me, I defended that. Now, what's interesting is that in this way, it backfired, right? Because 30 years ago, if you saw what happened to Tua on the field last week, that coach takes him out, that doctor sits him. He's not going in the game again. And after only 3 days rest, he's not playing again.
Well,
That wouldn't in this case, him somehow passing the concussion protocol or never being treated as a concussion, this skirted the whole system somehow.
right. Well, first of all, 30 years ago, they'd call you a big pussy for not going back in. So
I mean, I guess, but I'm just saying before the protocol was put into place, I think everybody's eye test can tell you that he's not good, and that was a serious injury.
yeah,
I don't know that on 3 days, the concussion protocol is not that old either. I mean, we don't have to go back past the year 2000 to.
10, 15 years the most. But I think back in the old days, if we're going back, 20, 30, 40 years, these guys always play with concussions. It was kind of like if you can walk.
You're missing the point. Come on, I'm not trying to say that. I'm just saying, we have this sophisticated way of making sure that concussed people, when the fucking eye test is good enough in this scenario.
Right, but
we weaponized this
but
thing
if we're getting
to
around
get
it now
someone
by
to play.
saying, if we're getting around it by saying, oh, that was a previous back injury.
Well, okay, so that's my point. There's
that's
a
the
huge
point,
breakdown here. There needs
Yeah.
to be, and there should have been an immediate investigation last week.
Right.
This should have happened before the game was even scheduled to play. They should have at least had a quick initial report that reported if there was anything culpable that should intervene before the game.
And the other thing too is we call it independent doctors. What does that mean, independent? I mean, somebody's paying them. The team or the league? I mean,
I don't.
They're not doing it pro bono. I can guarantee that.
No, they're not. They get paid. That doesn't mean that the NFL has to shell out the money for it. I mean,
somebody's paying them, and
they
so
could pay into it. It could get routed another way, where the money goes through another party and comes from some kind of thing, or it could come from the NFL's I mean, I don't fucking know, but it could. You know how the fines they collect for all the horse shit? They don't keep that money. That all gets donated out. It could come from that pot. I don't know.
I just don't know how independent these guys truly are. Because if some way the money's coming from the league or the team, and if it's routed 12 ways into their pocket, there's still a financial interest, And
there's a financial interest, but there's no way for them to non-transparently. What are they going to do? Threaten to take the money away? How would they do that without it being transparent?
I don't know.
If they're not being paid directly. You know what I mean? Like I don't know how they can use that as a threat in any way. Like it's like, oh, we're not going to pay you unless you do what we say.
Or not pay it, but just like I'm paying for something. This is the result I want. And I don't know. I just
what? Like they're not their employees, is what I'm saying. Like they can pay a hospital to then have like whatever. So then you're saying that the hospital is now in on it with the NFL.
I don't know. I just whenever
it's not impossible, but it is kind of like
Occam's razor. I always go back to Occam's razor. What seems like the most likely thing that happened? That doctors who are so incredibly incompetent that even the eye test said that they might not have a concussion. We're not going to look at it. Or
do you think that maybe the team doctors influenced those doctors? Is what I was thinking.
I think either the team doctors or team front offices or team owners or the NFL or something did.
I don't know. It's messed up, though.
Tua on the field is a lot more viable for this league, and there's a lot more eyeballs going to the league than watching Teddy Bridgewater. And, if they can the excuse that this is an old back injury, that's why has his hands on his head, that's why he's walking wobbly. That's what happened here. The result of, this hit on top of the other one, which, caused his hands to seize. Don't give me back injury. I mean, it just seems very, very fishy.
No, that's called the fencing position. That's a sign of loss of consciousness, or at least I think that's what people are saying. So I mean, like, I don't know. Yeah, like I said, it didn't pass the smell test, it didn't pass the eye test, and somehow it managed to skirt past the sophisticated system of tests that were implemented. So something broke down there, and to me, I don't think it's on a grander scale like you're thinking. I mean, I definitely think the NFL in a panic move probably called in and were like, please, not at the halftime show, whatever. I find likely.
No, absolutely.
But I think that the independent doctors were maybe bullied into being like they have no jurisdiction over a previous injury, and this is previous injury. He says it's his back. It's his back. It's not his head. Whatever. I mean, maybe. But even then, no. Even then, like there's times when isn't there like an independent doctor in New York that calls in and will stop play on the field?
I don't know.
Like there was, I don't know. The whole thing fucking broke down. There should have been an investigation immediately before this game even was played. It's really fucked up for the player, and
I mean,
I hope for the best for him because it's messed up.
The union filed a grievance about it, and it's just like, what are we gonna do? Figure this out at the end of the season when the guy's life is potentially at risk? It's just the whole thing just stinks. It really does, and it doesn't matter what team he's on or whether you like the guy or not. This is the last thing you want to see is forget that he's a real talent. His career might be in jeopardy. The guy's life could be at jeopardy, and it's just not worth it. And hopefully something will be done to prevent something as as smell testy as this doesn't happen again.
Yeah, yeah. If there wasn't already like an emphasis put on concussions, if the NFL were just still ignoring it, I would almost not have a problem with this. But they acknowledged it, so now you have to abide by it. So
yeah,
yeah, messed up on the injury front though. Heading on to Sunday, Giants and Bears. Not good news for Giants. Not
no
at all.
bueno.
Sterling Shepard, obviously big one. That's huge. Headed to IR. I believe he already moved to IR.
Yes.
Leo was really, really badly missed last week, and he's going to be badly missed again this week if he can't go. He's a dude who I don't think has ever missed a game due to injury, so he just missed his first last week. It's hard to really imagine someone missing 2 in a row, I guess, when they have a returnable injury in a short amount of time kind of situation like that. But Dan Duggan says it's an uphill battle, but possible.
I mean, it sucks. Like, don't worry about the number of sacks he has or tackles behind the line of scrimmage. It's the fact that the guy draws attention. He draws double teams. And, it sucks that a lot of people were like, well, where was Kayvon Thibodeau and where was Ojulari in the pass rush and everything? Well, again, the main guy clogging the middle who gets some attention, who frees up these guys was not there. So, we still have not seen this defense at full capacity and feeding off the strengths of each other. So that's still going to take a hit. And we just have to wait for him to get healthy.
And like we said on the episode, what was that, yesterday?
Feels like it.
Yeah. Aziz and Kayvon, that was their first game back from injury. It was Kayvon's first game ever. They are going to get a little bit better, and it was clear that Leo was missed, so it doesn't really matter what his numbers were. I mean, the stats don't lie in terms of just the team defense when he's not on the field. That's going to be important this week because Bears can't really throw the ball, but man, can they run. Some better news, I guess, maybe. Well, continuing the bad news, I'm still not seeing anything further from Kadarius Toney, Wan'Dale Robinson either. Cordell Flott, suffered some kind of injury during the game last week, I guess, and he's now on a scooter, so he's not looking likely in any capacity. But Aaron Robinson, I think, was listed as limited, so
yes,
I guess that's possible. And that would be pretty big.
I mean, this is turning into week 14 of last year already with these guys. They're dropping like flies, and they're in critical positions.
Yeah, except to be fair, when you lose all your wide receivers, I don't know. I don't know. No, I mean, I was going to say it doesn't look as bad as when you have the depth issues that they had last year on the O-line. Like, it's better wide receivers and offensive line. But, like, really, is it? It is, because at least Daniel Jones wouldn't be getting killed. But it's not really better.
Well, I mean,
sucks.
He was kind of getting killed last week. Granted, it was a very good defensive line and a very good second defense we faced. But
we're going to talk about that.
Yes.
So, okay, this Bears team, all right? Last week, they played the Texans, and they ran the ball all the hell over them. Over something like 281 yards of rushing. And with David Montgomery out, I think David Montgomery got hurt in like the first quarter, and they had to go to their backup Khalil Herbert, and he had like 157 all on his own. Justin Fields was scrambling a little bit there and picked up like 50 of his own. They have some other guy, Ebner or something like that. I think he's the kid from Clemson, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. He had some yardage too. There was a big end around with Economy of St. Brown. I mean, they ran all the hell over them, but they couldn't pass to save their lives. And some of that was the offensive line looked like shit. They can run block like crazy, by the way. I don't think the running back Khalil Herbert is all that great, but I do think that watching their offensive line run block was like a thing of beauty. Like it was like exactly how you draw it up. Like it was almost like a first team playing a scout team kind of like situation of like just a demo on how plays work.
Sounds like a game you want Leonard Williams back.
Exactly my point. But the flip side, is they did not look at all like that when they were pass blocking. In fact, there were similar sack and hurry numbers, sack and QB hit numbers against the Texans that the Giants had against the Cowboys. So those statistics saying that the Giants and Bears have the league worst team or pass blocking grade or whatever, just keep in mind who we played against here.
Yeah, but remember also, though, we now have 3 weeks of data, not just the one. And it may be skewed because this was clearly our worst game against the Cowboys.
Those are insanely bad numbers that are dragging down any statistic. So, we don't know shit yet. Okay, maybe the Texans are actually a really, really good defensive front, and they're going to terrorize the rest of the league the whole way through. I don't think so, though.
No,
I'm just saying. Right now, in this point, I wouldn't put those two defenses as equal. And so, if a team laid an egg against the Dallas defense, I wouldn't necessarily blame them the same way I would if I were a Bears fan.
But thinking about this defense, this offensive line after 3 weeks, it's not been that good pass blocking against anybody, really. It was
it's been fucking terrible. But I mean, like, I don't know. I have this weird thing. Like, the Bears is the Giants, is the Giants is the Bears. Their situations are so close and intertwined, much like your thoughts on like the Gators.
Yeah,
it feels like the Bears are like a year or two behind the Giants in their situation. So they look like they passed for less than 100 yards last week.
Yeah, it's interesting. Interesting you say that because you can look at it as they're a year or two behind or they're a year or two ahead, where Justin Fields is their quarterback. And he has not been, usually by year 2, you expect to see, strides being made that, okay, this guy could be our franchise quarterback. He hasn't taken that step yet. And again, what is he working around him? Sort of like the Daniel Jones problem. But they kind of have their quarterback until they have to make a decision in a couple of years, where we are pretty much at the end of the Daniel Jones era, and we have to find out who our franchise quarterback is going to be. So in some ways, yeah, they're a little behind us, but in some ways they're a little ahead of us. But either way, we're both not exactly teams that should be booking any reservations for late January football anytime soon.
Well, all right, let's talk about Justin Fields.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've watched him since college.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me a little bit about what you think about him coming out of college and what you saw your time there.
I think Justin Fields in college is kind of like Daniel Jones in the NFL, where, he bounced around. First he was at Georgia, then he was at Ohio State, different systems, completely different systems. Never has had the real, year over year building on what he's learned before. And he's got a good arm. He can move around a lot. Seems to be a smart quarterback. I just think, again, kind of like Daniel Jones, doesn't have much around him to work with. We're talking year 2 with him also, so he still has some time to develop and make long range decisions about him. Where Daniel Jones, again, we're in year 4. I wouldn't give up on him just yet. But they have to build around him. If that organization is still garbage, 2 years from now, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah. Well, you thought so. He was kind of forced out of Georgia. Or
Not
the,
real. Well, what happened was,
I was surprised you went through your Justin Fields evaluation without mentioning this or clowning on Georgia.
what happened was, that was Jake Fromm, our, friend of the program. He beat him out in, I guess, fall practice and stuff, and it was just good enough to win. And then he left Georgia because he was at a baseball game, and there were some racist taunts that were being said, not even necessarily at him, and he used that as the legal way to transfer somewhere immediately. If you're in a hostile environment, you can claim that, instead of having to wait a year to transfer back in the way the rules were a couple of years back, you can transfer for somebody immediately and have immediate eligibility. So he wasn't really forced out. He kind of, was in an uncomfortable circumstance and he wanted to leave that school.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But the fact is, he did not beat out Jake Fromm, who, we know Jake Fromm as someone who was clearly not an NFL quarterback, but he was a serviceable, a little better than Stetson Bennett is now at Georgia, but a guy who won.
Yeah.
And he was a pretty high recruit. Justin Fields was a 5-star, top 5 recruit in the country type of guy, where Fromm was a fringy upper 4-star, low 5-star guy. Still a good prospect, but not nearly the talent that Justin Fields was.
Yeah. And one of them was drafted much higher than the other, and one of them still has a job, starting job. But don't forget about those times that Fromm started for us. He has some NFL starts.
Oh yeah, wonderful.
Yeah, Justin Fields passed for under 100 yards last week. I guess he had some technique issues that they were trying to clean up or something, and in general, he was just under pressure last week a lot. He did make some really good decisions. He looked good running the ball. I'll say, tucking it and going. His throws looked like garbage though. I mean, they were all wobbly and shit. And
yeah, I mean, it's we can't give Daniel Jones a pass for saying, oh, he had no time to throw, he has no receivers, but say Justin Fields, ugh, you suck, when basically it's the same problems. But you're right. When you see ducks coming out of his hand, that's different than, Daniel Jones just trying to survive out there.
Yeah, well, I mean, for what it's worth, Danny threw I don't even know what it was, a pinpoint laser on the run last week, through 3 sets of hands to Richie James on the sideline. Might have been complete fluke, but for all of his running for his life, he was still throwing the ball fairly accurately. Justin Fields, even in a clean pocket, was throwing, like you said, ducks. But I am really worried about this running game. We didn't stop the run well last week. We mentioned missing Leo, and that was evident. We still don't have him. And that is a problem. I guess I'm just banking on the fact that we got gashed already, maybe by a better team running the ball. That was, a good way of iron sharpening iron. I don't know. That's what I'm hoping for, because I'm certainly not worried about Fields throwing the ball or us blitzing him, because they truly can't pass block at all, much in the same way that we can't. And he looks very bad versus the blitz. So I'm a little bit just worried about stopping the run. And if we have to sit there through a short game where we're just getting the shit run all over us, that's miserable, man. That sucks.
Because it's one of the things you just see it happening over and over, and there's nothing you can do about it. And it's like death by paper cut. It's one thing if they just bombs away and hitting 40-yard bombs all the time, but when it's just monotonous,
first down.
Monotonous. It's 3rd and 3, can't stop them. 3rd and 2, can't stop them. 3rd and 9, can't stop them. That is the worst. And to me, the key to this game is our running game.
All right.
I mean, this is where Saquon Barkley really, really needs to be Saquon Barkley. Because, again, we have, losing Sterling Shepard really hurts. Having our little scat back guys AWOL really, really hurts. We have to be able to run the ball. And they are going to be, again, I think, loading the box and forcing Daniel Jones to make a play. But just because he's loading the box doesn't mean we just give up on the run. Saquon Barkley, if he truly wants to be Saquon Barkley, he has to sometimes make something out of nothing. And we need him to step up. We need him to, not dance around. If he find a hole, hit the hole, shimming in and out, make something out of nothing. Because if he is shut down, like you said, this could be just a miserable game to watch that is just, 100 punts and just, tough to watch. And again, we're playing a pretty poor team. And that will say something about us as well. So I think my key to the game is Saquon Barkley has to be the man in this game. And even though they're keying on him, he has to be effective.
All right, so I want to hit you with this. There was a story out there that before his 35-yard touchdown run, Daniel Jones said to him to hit that motherfucker. And every time DJ curses, it like winds up.
An angel gets his wings.
Yeah. Really. So I guess we should just, when Daniel Jones goes to sleep, you just put on like, I don't know, what do you think? Like a George Carlin? On
Red
like
Fox or something. Yeah. Football Grump.
Oh God, I know. I'm so bad too.
I'm going to start a tip jar, and everybody out there on Twitter, every time you get an F-bomb from Football Grump, we need to have a hashtag of something.
No, I'm not bad on the show because I'm conscious of what I'm saying here, and I'm trying really hard to like think about my words
it's just
before
a
I say
church
them.
You have a problem.
No,
yeah.
where I'm bad is when I'm just talking, when I'm just riffing, and I'm just trying to get information or whatever. So at work, I'm really, really bad. The worst place I can be is in my true emotional element, which is at a game. It's like every other word out of my mouth.
Nah. I think you're okay.
So?
No,
Okay.
not really. I think I think you're more Eddie Murphy on the show than you are at a game. Honestly, you're fine at a game.
All right. Okay.
If you haven't watched a game with the Grump, it is great. I mean, he brings the passion.
I am full fan. I like none of this. Like I'm like even like Sunday morning, I'm waking up. I'm in fan mode. I'm not.
First of all,
he probably
has two broken hands from slamming his hands on the seats right in front of us on every third down play, which is great.
Someone's got to make noise.
He does, yeah. I mean, the guy sitting next to me probably still is trying to get his eardrums fixed after that noise. It's great though. It's a great combination of passion and yet being able to tell you, watch how that right guard isn't pulling on this play. Usually you have all nothing with people, and he does both. So I encourage you, if you ever want to watch a game with myself and the Grump, hit us up, give us a DM. We'll figure out where to get you a ticket.
It's true. I tend to sit next to. I mean, those tickets are always somebody new every week.
Oh, to your left, yeah.
To my left, I'm always sitting next to like visiting team fans. It sucks. Whoever has those seats, they're just always gone. But it is what it is. It's Giants Stadium for you. So here's my other question for you.
Yes.
You mentioned the wide receiver room being empty. What are your thoughts on playing Kenny Golladay this week? Do you feel any need to continue to sit him? Do you want to continue to play him? I don't know. Do you have thoughts?
He has to play now. I mean, we are getting to the point, if you have to start replacing guys that are hurt and we start losing depth, guys off the street are not going to cut it. I mean, guys like Kenny Sills are barely passable to begin with. He's got talent. I mean, we're not paying this guy a lot of money because the guy has no talent. He has it. You got to exhaust all options with the guy. He's on the roster. He's not going anywhere this year. And even if he's a square peg in the round hole that's this offense, you write some stuff in the dirt to get the ball to him, because right now this passing game is a problem. And like I said, they are going to just watch the formations, watch the safeties, watch how far close they are to the line of scrimmage in this game. They're going to dare Daniel Jones and dare the receivers to make a play. And he's a big guy. So you have to play him in spite of him, whether much you hate the guy or, whatever you think of his worth ethic or even the fact he dropped balls last week, because an unmotivated Kenny Galladay is still better than some guy who's bagging groceries right now.
I couldn't agree with you more. To me, I agree that this game has to hinge on Saquon Barkley. That was your key to this game. I'm gonna agree with you entirely. I have run baby run is my notes here. This team they play defense rushing four guys. They play two high safety. They're gonna stack the box. So. And I think they're going to start stacking the box right from the beginning of the game, and they're going to only stop when we make them stop. So that means they're going to have to pass to open up the run. They're going to have to show that Daniel Jones is going to push the ball. And that means a talented guy like Kenny Galladay can't sit. We're beyond the petty shit now. We have too many starters injured, gone. And we didn't have enough starters to begin with. So this Darius Slayton sitting on the bench, I don't know how this dude has gone from a rookie phenom who was like a draft diamond in the 6th round to suddenly not even earning playing time. But this has got to stop. I know that we're not measuring this in terms of wins and losses, but this is now at the point where we can't even measure an offense's development because we have such shit at wide receiver.
That you just nailed it. I mean, there's two ways. There's one thing to say, well, the playoffs are a pipe dream, but it's also, you don't want this thing to spiral out of control and become a repeat of last year, because you saw what happened last year. It got so out of control that a coaching staff got fired from it. Now, they're not going to fire these guys after 1 year if we turn to complete shit like that. But I've been harping all offseason that this coaching staff is trying to establish a new culture. And that culture is playing for 60 minutes, playing for meaningful games. And if you start losing now, it's human nature that you're going to start to get tuned out, and you don't want that. Now, granted, a lot of this roster will not be here next year and the year after, and probably nobody on this roster, with the exception of maybe one or two people, will be here when this team eventually becomes a playoff team. But still, you want to develop something when people come in here, they know what they're getting themselves into, not, just this dark chasm of garbage that this team has become. So
would you be worried that playing Kenny Galladay, who maybe is lazy in practice, then overwrites the culture you're trying to establish? So what do you do?
I think you I think trying to be competitive is the fastest way to develop a culture. I mean, a guy like Kenny, we don't know for sure what Kenny Galladay is or isn't doing in practice.
You're right. You're absolutely right.
We are conjecturing. We are hypotheticalizing.
This is all conjecture.
This is all conjecture. Thank you so much, sir. This is all conjecture that we think that he's in the doghouse for being lazy. We don't know that. It could just be we don't know that Blake Martinez was being lazy or Logan Ryan was being lazy. We just know it was oil and vinegar. Is that right? Or
no,
they just did,
well, yeah, I guess it would be. Well,
yeah,
I think oil and water is really
or oil and water, and they were gone. They can't do that with Kenny Galladay, but we don't know the reason why. So let's, if it was an issue of just being lazy or stuff, he probably wouldn't be on the field last week. I mean, maybe you take it at his word that he was outplayed during practice the weeks before. I tend to doubt that, but who knows? So,
yeah, I mean, I don't know. If he's dropping balls, I guess he is outplayed, right?
Yeah,
So,
the proof's in the pudding.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. David Sills versus Kenny Galladay on paper doesn't sound like a real competition, but Kenny Galladay, right, was dropping balls and just was being ineffective.
All right, so hit me with a prediction. How do you think this game's going to go?
I think this team still plays for its coaches very hard. Chicago's very bad. And I think, at least, like to your point about Justin Fields versus Daniel Jones, that Daniel Jones, from what we can tell about him, is taking steps to be a better quarterback in this league. He's making smarter decisions. He's not just putting the ball up for grabs. He's not throwing ducks. I think that slight difference between him and Justin Fields is enough in a game like this. Um, I think that the running game, I think it'll be a lot like last week where our running game, because they're trying to stack the box, if you look at the first half stats, are not going to be, pretty at all. But you know, I think in the third quarter, we'll be able to start running the ball a little more and a little more and a little more. Um, I think this will be low scoring and ugly, but I think at the end we have more talent than Chicago. I think we will win low scoring, ugly 14-10.
Yeah, I also think this is going to be low scoring, ugly, shitty. I just think we're better. I think that in terms of a team, we are a year ahead of where they are. I don't know where they are with their quarterback situation, their coach, front office situation, but right now, talent wise, I think they're in many ways as devoid as we are. But I don't know. I like what we're doing in some places here. I think we have some good talent from this past draft, who I think we're one draft class ahead of them. That's what I'm trying to say. There he is. So yeah, and I think we're going to be able to use those horses to get after Justin Fields, frustrate an already frustrated quarterback, in enough to win, but it's going to look like crap. I think this is going to be something like 20-13 Giants.
Well, let's put it this way. I mean, they're pretty closely matched roster wise, but who's the best player on the field for either team?
Andrew Thomas.
Oh, I was going to say Saquon Barkley.
I mean, I guess. Yeah, skill player, yes.
Yeah,
Saquon Barkley.
And I think when you have two teams that are pretty similar, I think, when you have an advantage of having the best skill player, I think that might be the difference in this. And again, he's the key to victory, and I think he's going to play well to make a difference. And I think he's going to be the difference in this game. So that's why I'm kind of tilting towards the Giants.
Philadelphia versus Jacksonville. Do you believe the Duval hype? Duval, that's their thing, right?
Duval count. Do you believe both hypes? Do you believe that Philly is a Super Bowl contender? And do you believe that Jacksonville is a playoff contender?
I think Philadelphia wins this game. They're at home. They want the Philly faithful will be out to crush their former head coach in all fury. I think that Jacksonville has itself a real head coach for the first time in what feels like a long time. He came there where they already had a real quarterback for the first time in a very long time, maybe ever. Has Jacksonville ever had a quarterback I liked? I don't think so.
Well, Mark Brunell was pretty good.
David Garrard.
No, he sucked.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, but Mark Brunell was good. But you're also talking 1998.
Yeah, that was when they started.
That was a little grump back then.
Yeah. Oh, I remember though. I have memories from before they existed and so on. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think that right now Jacksonville has done enough in this offseason to just kind of throw talent onto a team to like be competitive, and Doug Peterson's utilizing that. But Philly is a team that has grown together, is solid.
Yeah.
They are sound in what they're doing. They know what they're doing. I still don't truly believe the Jalen Hurts thing. I think we'll see its end pretty, over the next couple of years. But whatever.
They have an it factor right now. I mean,
they're just better. That's
it.
It's not even. It's not that. Whatever. I think Jacksonville is on the right path, but they're on a path. Philadelphia is really walking the path.
It's funny because a year and a half ago we were clowning on Philly as being one of the worst teams in the league. Remember?
Well, yeah. I still think all of their coaches are dumb, for what it's worth. I just think their front office is smart, and they have put together a good team. Mm-hmm. Their roster they have been solid on both sides of the ball for the trenches for years now. They have not let it go stale the way the Giants have, and had to rebuild. They just cycle in tackles. It's insane. Yeah. They've kept that shit together. They have a talented roster. I think they've been hindered by dumb coaches and just bad QBs, I guess. Mm-hmm. Carson Wentz, and I don't think Carson Wentz was even bad. I think he got broken. I think he literally got injured to the point where he became a bad quarterback. So, that's what I think. But for this year, I'm buying the Philly hype. I think they are a good team for real.
I'm
Yes.
very excited to watch this game, though. I mean, I think this is going to be, what time is that? A 4 o'clock game, or is
I
that
don't
same
think so.
time as ours?
I think it's a one game.
Oh,
You'll have to rewatch it, buddy.
oh God. I mean, it's bad enough. This is the first time in my life because of the hurricane I have a Gator game and a Giant game on at the exact same time. So, good thing we have ESPN Plus on our phones, so I can be monitoring. Hopefully we can survive Eastern Washington. But yeah, we have the Philly game also at 1 o'clock. It would be, I would not have been upset this week if this was an away game. We can be on the couch watching seven things at once. But we will be at MetLife. We will be at L16. We'll be in our seats.
Washington at Dallas. We will not be at. And do we agree that Dallas wins this game? Washington's no better than we are.
I think Washington's worse.
Yeah.
I think Washington might be. They may go down as maybe the worst team in the conference by the end of the year.
Yeah, you think so?
They're a mess.
So are you worried about the C.J. Stroud-led Commanders next year?
Well, I wouldn't be worried about the C.J. Stroud led in 2023, but I could be potentially worried about them being led in 2025 with that guy.
Which brings us to college weekend. This weekend kind of blows in terms of wanting to watch head-to-head prospects, I think. There's just games are spread, but they're fun games to watch. So I'm kind of not really going to be too much on prospect watch. I might just sit back and enjoy watching football, but I think my best chance for head-to-head stuff is the Pac-12 game with Oregon and Stanford. Stanford has a corner I really like, so Q Blue Kelly, I want to see how he stacks up.
I want to hear you say his name 5 times really fast.
Well, I mean, I think you can just say Q Kelly.
There you go.
But whatever.
Because after the Monday night game and the fact that I had to deal with my apartment potentially blowing away this week in St. Pete, no worries, no damage, everybody's safe, everybody's good. And the Gator game moving to Sunday, I did absolutely zero research on any other college game this week, so I will be I'll be on the couch watching a bunch of good SEC and ACC games. I think, the ACC.
NC State and Clemson was one that I'm probably gonna watch. That's a really good one. Florida State and Wake Forest is a really good one.
Yeah, I think this is where we're gonna start to see who the pretenders are and who the actual legit. I mean, Florida State, they're 4-0, but they've been chirping about how they have a great schedule, even though we've actually played the 3 top 10 teams, not them. But I want to see how they actually step up in competition and see that Wake Forest quarterback. What's his name?
Sam Hartman.
Yeah, I like
their wide receiver. A.T. Perry is someone seriously to watch.
Mm-hmm.
He's really good. He didn't do shit last week other than draw major holding penalties, where it's just clear that he was gonna blow past guys.
Florida State their defense is the sum is great. The parts are actually greater than their sum. They have a really good defensive lineman, a transfer, but they can be gashed. So that'd be a good matchup to see just how good Florida State actually is, and also how good Wake Forest actually is too.
There's there's some Big Ten games. I might watch Michigan State, Maryland. That'd be kind of fun. Wisconsin's playing Illinois. I know that sounds stupid, but I don't know. I think that's kind of fun. LSU Auburn is really the main one I'm probably gonna end up watching in the daytime.
That is purely for watching NFL talent as opposed to 2 good teams.
Oh, absolutely. That's what I'm saying. It's not really a great weekend for I don't know. But I don't want to watch that. Whatever. I will be keying in mostly in the Oregon Stanford game and then really just kicking back and enjoying my Saturday for up until that moment.
And then a week from tonight, Grump, we will be on a plane.
That's right. Leaving on a jet plane.
Going to London. We will be there. Not sure of all of you out there who else is going, but we will talk. We were invited to a thing on Saturday night where some of the London Giant fans are meeting up at a pub. So we will be there. We'll give you more information about that next week's show. And if anybody has any tickets to that game, extra ones, we need 4. Grump, myself, Mrs. Grump, and Mrs. Crank are we're making a big trip, and we need tickets. So if anybody out there has any access to tickets, we will pay. We just need to have access. So help us out. We will take care of you on the back end when we come back stateside. But starting out there now.
Yeah, it would be cool to actually go to the game, but honestly, I'm just stoked to be there in the fervor. But I really do want to. I want to be in the stadium. I want to see this thing. This is gonna be
Yeah.
so much fun.
For
We'll get our hands on tickets, so I'm
yeah,
not
for
that worried about
anybody who hasn't gone to, this will be my third London game for the Giants, and it really feels, it has the feeling of a Super Bowl or a bowl game where you have in the stands, because a lot of expats from all over, or patriots from all over the continent are coming over. So you might see 32 different jerseys in the stands. You'll see Americans and people who are learning the sport. They have a huge fan fest set up around the stadium. This is at Tottenham, which is my football, my soccer team. So it's a cool old neighborhood like Wrigleyville. So yeah, I know that, I know we're talking about next week's game now, but I want to start getting those preparations, and whoever of you are going, let us know so we can make plans to meet up when we're over there. It's not too soon to start planning a tailgate.
it. Damn right. All right, so that's next week. This week, though, we will see you at the game Sunday, 1 o'clock at MetLife. See you there, or be a loser. In the meantime, you can follow us on Twitter at football_grump, at the Cranky Fan. This show on YouTube, Spotify, Google Play, iTunes, etc. Tell a friend, get them to stop by, check out the show. We're fun.
Yeah.
And we will see you at the game. Until then, go
Go
Giants!
Giants.